In 1889, archaeologists found a cave in France with red ochre stains in a strange, repeating pattern. For decades, nobody knew what it meant. Then someone asked a different question. What if this wasn't art? What if it was a calendar? Every month, for half of human history, roughly half the population bled. And yet, until very recently, almost nothing was written about how they handled it. Why does history go silent on something this basic? Let's start with the moon. Many ancient cultures noticed something strange. The menstrual cycle and the lunar cycle both last about 29 days. Some anthropologists believe this connection shaped humanity's very first calendars. Archaeologist Alexander Marzhack studied bone fragments over 20,000 years old, covered in small notches. He argued these notches weren't random. They tracked lunar phases, and lunar phases track suspiciously close to a menstrual cycle. Was the first calendar ever made a period tracker? We can't know for certain, but the timing is hard to ignore. Now, what did ancient women actually use during their cycle? Historical sources point to a wide range of materials, shaped entirely by what was locally available. In ancient Egypt, papyrus was rolled and softened for use as absorbent material. The Ebers Papyrus, dated to around 1550 BCE, is one of the oldest medical texts in existence. It contains some of the earliest known references to menstrual remedies. In ancient Greece, physicians like Hippocrates wrote about menstruation directly. Softened lint, wool, and grass were commonly used across different Mediterranean regions. In Japan, some historical records describe the use of paper and cloth strips, tied and adjusted by hand. In parts of Africa and indigenous America, soft moss, plant fibers, and animal hides served the same purpose. Reusable cloth was, for most of human history, the standard, not the exception. Disposable products are actually the strange, recent invention, not the ancient norm. So where did the silence come from? In many ancient societies, menstruation wasn't hidden out of shame. It was treated as powerful. In some cultures, menstruating women were kept separate, not because they were unclean, but because their blood was considered spiritually potent. Anthropologist Chris Knight proposed a controversial theory in 1991. He argued that synchronized menstruation among early human groups may have shaped early social bonding and cooperation. Some indigenous traditions describe moon lodges or red tents, spaces where women rested together during their cycles. Far from isolation, some accounts describe these spaces as places of rest, storytelling, and shared knowledge. Compare that to Victorian England only a few hundred years ago. Menstruation there was treated as an illness, something to be hidden completely. Doctors at the time even warned women against reading books during their period. Some believed too much mental activity could worsen female weakness. So the silence wasn't ancient at all. It was manufactured much later, recently and deliberately. Here's where the story gets genuinely strange. Some Roman texts, written by the naturalist Pliny the Elder, claimed menstrual blood could sour wine, dull metal, and kill insects. Modern historians view these claims as reflecting fear, not biology. But that fear had consequences. It shaped laws, religious practices, and social exclusion for centuries. Meanwhile, cultures on other continents were building entire spiritual systems around the same event. One where menstruation meant contamination, another where it meant power. Same biological process. Two opposite civilizations of meaning. Isn't it strange that the one universal experience shared by half our species produced the least universal set of beliefs? By the early 1900s, commercial pads began appearing, developed in part from surplus wartime bandage material. Nurses during World War I discovered that cellulose bandages absorbed better than cloth. That discovery led directly to the first mass-produced sanitary pads. Something built for the battlefield ended up changing private life for half the population on Earth. So think back to that cave in France. The ochre stains. The strange, repeating marks. Maybe it wasn't a mystery because ancient people didn't understand their bodies. Maybe it was a mystery because we forgot to ask the right question for over 100 years. The truth is this: menstruation didn't hide in history. We simply stopped looking for it. Every civilization, every era, Every documented culture had to face the exact same monthly reality. And how they chose to face it says less about biology and more about what each society valued, feared, or refused to talk about. The moon didn't go silent. We did.